Hello, Johnny from Eurogamer here. You know, I think it's safe to say, following Nintendo's livestream, the Switch big reveal left most people with a few concerns. Ian had so many, in fact, he cancelled his pre-order, because he hates fun. But while the launch lineup for the Switch isn't exactly packed to the seams, I still think there are a number of reasons to look forward to Nintendo's new console and keep that pre-order alive. 4 reasons, in fact. Here they come. Number 1, the tech is great. Alright, so granted the launch roster is looking a bit threadbare as far as Nintendo Switch software actually goes, but let's not forget the PS4 launch lineup wasn't exactly banging either. You had Knack, Killzone Shadowfall, and then a bunch of games also readily available for PS3 and Xbox 360. Big whoop, Sony, you really nailed that one. But while you won't be spoilt for choice on launch day, I think there's still cause to be excited for the Nintendo Switch for the simple fact of what it is. I've been hands-on with the Switch, and frankly I went in terrified it was going to feel like a slightly more grown-up version of the Wii U gamepad, which is basically baby's first controller. After 5 minutes of holding it in portable mode while playing Splatoon 2, however, I was convinced. The Switch is a really nifty bit of tech. It's stylish, well built, and while I don't tend to play games on the move very much, because the 3DS made me miss my stop on the tube one too many times, I nonetheless really love the idea of being able to take the Switch out of the dock and play games without being tethered to the living room sofa. My point here is the Nintendo Switch is a console with presence. The PS4 and Xbox One both try very hard to just blend into the background and serve you up the game. Strip away the console exclusives and the 2 core experiences are almost identical. Really, the ultimate goal of these consoles is to have you forget the machine is even there in the first place while you're playing, which, by the way, is pretty hard with a PS4 sounding like it's taxiing onto the runway for a non-stop flight to Noisy Town. Nintendo, however, knows how to make really fun objects. They're just nice to interact with. The Game Boy is an absolute classic, the 3DS is impeccably designed, and the GameCube boasts the best controllers mankind has ever seen. The Nintendo Switch shares a lot of DNA with Nintendo's best hardware, and it's built to be adaptable. Would I ever pack my PS4 or Xbox One for a weekend away? Definitely not, that's a faff. Would I take my Switch so I can play Breath of the Wild wherever I ended up? Absolutely. Speaking of which... Number 2, Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda is one of the world's most popular franchises, despite the fact Nintendo has basically been remaking the same game for 30 years. Breath of the Wild, however, is set to actually shake things up, ushering in a beautiful open world with enormous potential, and if you don't fancy playing it, I'm going to have to conclude you hate fun. And yeah, it's available on the Wii U, but let's face facts, the Wii U is dead. Breath of the Wild is the last Wii U game, in fact. And yeah, I know it'll cost you over £300 to get a Switch and Breath of the Wild, whereas it's just £40 on Wii U, and granted, on paper that does sound like a preposterous price difference. But then that argument treats the Switch as though it's only ever going to be good for this one game. Like it's going to self-immolate the moment you stop playing. Breath of the Wild is available on the Wii U, that's right, but to buy it on Switch is to start a new game library, whereas buying it on the Wii U is just ending one. Nintendo freely admits the Wii U is done, so why buy a game you could return to time and time again on a system you're almost certainly not going to have plugged into your TV 2 months from now? Getting Breath of the Wild on the Switch is an investment in the future. Buying it for the Wii U is like buying a new saddle for a horse you know is already very dead. Number 3, the software lineup. Alright, as we've already established, the launch lineup for the Switch is disappointing. I make no bones there, frankly, especially regarding 1-2-Switch. Not bundling that game in with the console is preposterous. That said, all of the people picking through the entrails of these launch games and declaring the Switch the death of Nintendo could probably do with a cup of chamomile tea and a bit of a lie down, because a weak launch lineup does not a bad console make. With Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2 all coming this year, those are 4 of Nintendo's core pillars covered off. And these franchises shift consoles, there's no 2 ways about it. On top of that, with some actual decent third-party support already announced for the Switch, there's every reason to be optimistic about the software lineup. You just need to have a little patience as well. Number 4. Local multiplayer is back. Alright, so the Nintendo Switch doesn't have the sexiest online plan, although it is dirt cheap, which is a definite plus. Where the Switch definitely does have an edge over its competitors, however, is in local multiplayer, aka interacting with friends in real life. See, local console multiplayer has been in decline for years now as publishers double down on matchmaking servers and online functionality. But the thing is, I love playing with people I know and like, which is why I'm glad Nintendo is still in the hardware market. The Switch is gunning for a return to the days when you could take a console round to a friend's house or get a whole bunch of people huddled around just one screen. And with the ability to link your consoles or give people one of your Joy-Con to get in on the action, it's got a good shot at making local multiplayer king again. And that is something worth celebrating. Anyway, those are my reasons to keep the faith about the Nintendo Switch. My colleague and supposed friend Ian Higton disagrees, however, so he's made a video all about why he cancelled his pre-order. If you haven't seen that already, you can click the thumbnail on screen now, give it a watch, and then let us know who's in the right. Do consider subscribing for plenty more from Eurogamer, but really there is no pressure. Either way, thank you very much for watching and have a lovely day.